Every time I walk through New York, I can't help feeling that the city hides more than it shows. Behind the bright lights and crowded streets, there are stories people avoid, mysteries whispered in quiet corners, and places where something still lingers long after everyone has left. I never believed any of it, until I saw things with my own eyes. Real places. Real people. Real fear. These aren't legends someone made up. These are the mysteries that stay with you, the kind that make you look over your shoulder without even realizing it. Tonight, we're going deeper into the ones that still haunt New York. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Your support helps me explore even deeper mysteries and bring more real stories to you. 1. Suzanne Lyle's disappearance, Albany, New York, 1998. I remember the first time I went to Albany to follow the trail of Suzanne Lyle. It was a cold evening, the kind that makes every sound feel sharper, and I kept thinking about how she must have felt walking that same path 27 years ago. I wasn't there in 1998, but standing outside the old CDTA bus stop near the Crossgates Mall, I felt something heavy settle in my chest, like the air itself still carried the silence she left behind. People passed by me, talking, laughing, living their lives, but for a moment I couldn't hear anything except the thought that someone once disappeared here without leaving a single footprint behind. I started walking toward the direction of her dorm, following the same route she was supposed to take that night. Cars rushed past me, but my mind kept replaying her last confirmed sighting, stepping off the bus after her shift at Babbage's. Everything after that felt like a blank page. The streetlights cast long shadows on the sidewalk, and with every step I felt the same uneasy question rise inside me: how can a person vanish in a place that stays awake 24 hours a day? I stopped near the wooded area close to the dorms. The wind pushed through the trees. And for a few seconds it felt like someone was standing behind me, watching. It wasn't fear, just that strange instinct you get when a place remembers something you don't. I closed my eyes and tried to imagine her walking through here, maybe tired from her shift, maybe thinking about her exam the next day. No panic. No clue that her life was about to dissolve into silence. That thought hit me harder than I expected. Mysteries aren't always loud. Sometimes they just whisper and disappear. As I walked deeper into the path, I felt the temperature drop slightly. It could have been the wind, but it felt different, like I had stepped into a moment frozen in time. I imagined the investigators searching this same spot, flashlights cutting through the dark, hoping the beam would land on something that made sense. But nothing ever did. No bag, no uniform, no phone, no sound, no trace. Just a straight line that suddenly broke. I stood there for a while, listening to the distant hum of the city. And for the first time, I understood why this case haunts people. It isn't just about a disappearance, it's about a quiet gap in reality that no one has been able to fill. While walking back, I kept glancing over my shoulder, not out of fear, but because it felt like the story wasn't finished. Like Suzanne's presence still lingers in the places she once walked, waiting for someone to notice something everyone else missed. And as I left the campus grounds, one thought wouldn't leave my mind: sometimes the most terrifying mysteries are the ones that don't scream, they're the ones that vanish right in front of the world, leaving behind nothing but questions that echo long into the night. 2. The Montauk Project Mystery, Long Island, New York. Montauk Project Mystery, Long Island, New York. I still remember the strange heaviness I felt the first time I walked toward Camp Hero in Montauk. Even before reaching the gate, something about the place made my chest tighten a little, like the air was thicker than it should have been. The ocean was loud behind me, waves crashing against the cliffs, but ahead of me everything felt unusually still. I wasn't here for rumors or wild stories. I wanted to understand why so many people believe something happened here that the world was never meant to know. As I got closer to the old radar tower, the ground felt uneven under my shoes, almost like the earth itself had shifted too many times. The massive steel structure stood tall and silent, not moving even an inch, yet I kept hearing a faint humming in the background. Maybe it was the wind passing through the old metal panels, or maybe it was something else. Every step I took made me wonder what this place must have looked like decades ago when it was active, lights on, guards everywhere, and nobody allowed to step near it. I stopped near a fenced-off bunker. The paint on the metal door was peeling, and deep scratches marked the outside like someone, or something, had tried to open it from the wrong side. I pressed my hand against the cold surface, and for a moment it felt warm, like something inside was still alive. I pulled my hand back quickly, feeling foolish yet unable to shake the tiny spark of fear rising in me. It didn't help that the sun was lowering behind me, stretching long shadows across the cracked pavement. Shadows sometimes play tricks, but that place didn't feel like it needed help from shadows to feel strange. The deeper I walked into the base, the more the silence felt unnatural. No birds, no footsteps except my own, just that same low hum following me everywhere. I kept thinking about the stories people told, kids disappearing, strange lights, underground rooms, experiments that never got reports. I didn't want to believe any of it, but standing there with the wind pushing against my back, it was hard not to imagine something hidden beneath my feet. I reached a small hill overlooking the whole area, and I stood there trying to make sense of why this place felt so wrong. The ocean breeze should have felt fresh, but it carried a metallic taste, almost like old machinery still running somewhere out of sight. I closed my eyes for a moment, and that's when I heard it, just a soft echo, almost like someone whispering from far below the ground. I opened my eyes immediately, my heart suddenly beating a little too fast. There was nothing around me, no movement, no person in sight. As I walked back toward the entrance, I kept looking over my shoulder. Not because I thought someone was following me, but because it felt like the place itself was paying attention, as if it didn't want me to leave without taking a piece of its mystery with me. And the truth is, I did. Even now, when I think about Montauk, I can still feel that hum in the back of my mind, soft, steady, and impossible to fully explain. 3. The Hudson River UFO Encounters, Hudson Valley, New York, 1980s. I didn't think much about the Hudson River UFO stories until the day I drove into the valley myself. The sun was setting behind the hills, and the sky had that soft orange glow that makes everything feel peaceful. But the people who lived here always said the strange lights didn't appear on peaceful nights, they appeared on nights that looked exactly like this one. Quiet. Calm. Like the sky was waiting for something. I parked my car near an open field where many of the sightings had been reported in the 1980s. At first, nothing felt unusual. The grass moved gently in the breeze, and the river made a low rumbling sound in the distance. But the longer I stood there, the more the silence started to sink into me. It wasn't an empty silence, it felt like a held breath, like something caught my eye, just a faint movement, like a slow glide. At first, I thought it was a plane, but planes don't move that quietly, and they don't glow that evenly. This light wasn't flickering. It wasn't blinking. It was just there. Steady. Calm. But the strange part wasn't the light, it was the way it drifted, almost like it was choosing where to go rather than following a straight path. I stood completely still, my heartbeat suddenly louder than the wind. The light hovered for a moment, then made a sharp movement to the left, too quick for anything I'd ever seen in the sky. I felt a shiver run through my shoulders. It wasn't fear, more like the feeling you get when something breaks the rules of the world you know. I tried to pull out my phone, but by the time I lifted it, the light shot upward and vanished into the sky like someone had switched it off. No trail, no sound, nothing left behind. The field looked normal again, but I didn't feel normal anymore. Walking back to my car, I kept glancing at the sky, wondering if it would come back. But it didn't. Maybe it never intended to. Maybe it only wanted to show itself for a moment, just enough to make me understand why the people here still talk about those nights in the 80s. Nights when the sky opened up for a few seconds and left everyone questioning what they saw, and why it chose this quiet valley. 4. The Cropsey Urban Legend and Andre Rand Case, Staten Island, New York. I went to Staten Island expecting to feel uneasy, but I didn't expect the feeling to start the moment my car turned onto the narrow road leading toward the old Willowbrook grounds. The trees on both sides were tall and heavy, leaning in as if they were listening. I had heard stories about the Cropsey legend before, but being here where the Real André Rand once moved through these same shadows made everything feel sharper, too real to ignore. I parked near a broken fence and stepped out. The air smelled damp, like the ground had been holding secrets for years and wasn't ready to let any of them go. The first thing that hit me was the silence. It wasn't normal silence, it felt stretched, like the whole place was holding its breath the way people do when they're afraid to speak a truth out loud. I started walking toward the remains of the old buildings, and with every step the weight of the place settled deeper in my chest. I kept imagining the children who used to live here when Willowbrook was still active, and the investigators who searched these fields years later. The rusted metal scraps on the ground, the collapsing structures, even the overgrown bushes, everything looked like it had been left behind too suddenly. I felt a strange pressure between my shoulders, like someone was standing behind me even though I knew no one was there. That feeling stayed with me, step after step, as if the place was remembering everything even when people wished it wouldn't. I reached a small clearing where the trees bent inward, forming a dark circle. Locals had told me that search parties once walked through this area, calling out names into the night. I tried whispering a name just to see how it felt, and the sound barely made it past my own ears. The air swallowed my voice almost instantly. I don't know why, but that moment sent a cold shiver down my spine, like this ground didn't want to hear anything anymore. As I walked deeper, the shadows grew thicker. The sun was still out, but under the trees it felt like late evening. Every few seconds, I caught myself turning around, expecting to see movement. The wind brushed past my legs, and for a second I thought I heard footsteps, soft, slow, like someone keeping their distance but still following. When I stopped walking, the sound stopped too. When I moved again, it returned. I told myself it was just the wind dragging through the dry leaves, but my heartbeat didn't believe it. By the edge of the clearing, I felt something I hadn't expected, sadness. A heavy, quiet sadness that seemed to rise from the ground itself. So many lives touched this place, some in ways that still leave scars on the people who remember. The legend of Cropsey may just be a story, but the reality of André Rand, the searches, the fear, the unanswered questions, that part is painfully real. Walking back toward my car, I kept my eyes on the path, but I could feel the woods watching me leave. It was the kind of place that doesn't chase you, it just waits. And long after you're gone, it still holds on to whatever you brought into it. 5. The Mystery of Lake George's Ghost Ship, Warren County, New York. I didn't plan to stay long at Lake George that evening. I just wanted to see the place where people claimed the ghost ship had been spotted drifting silently across the water. But the moment I stepped onto the wooden dock, something about the lake made me stop and breathe a little slower. The water was unusually calm, almost still, like a sheet of dark glass stretching toward the mountains. It didn't look dangerous, just strangely expectant. I walked closer to the edge and leaned forward slightly. The lake reflected the fading sunlight in long streaks of orange and silver, and I remember thinking how beautiful it all looked. But under that beauty, there was this quiet, unsettling feeling, like the water was hiding something it didn't want disturbed. People always said the ghost ship appeared on nights just like this one, when the world looked peaceful enough to let your guard down. That he once saw a long, old-fashioned vessel drifting with no lights, no sound, and no one on board. He said it didn't move like a real boat, it glided, almost floating above the water. While he talked, his eyes kept drifting toward the lake, as if he was waiting for it to appear again. The way he spoke made the story feel less like a legend and more like a memory he wished he could forget. After he left, the sky darkened faster than I expected. A soft mist formed above the lake, rolling slowly along the surface. I felt a cold breeze on my neck, even though the air had been warm just minutes earlier. I told myself I should head back, but something kept me standing there, staring into the growing fog. It felt wrong to look away, like I would miss something the moment I blinked. Then, out of nowhere, a faint shape appeared in the distance. At first it looked like a shadow, a darker patch against the gray mist. But the longer I watched, the clearer it became, a long, narrow silhouette, moving without a ripple of water behind it. My breath caught for a moment. The boat didn't sway, didn't rock, didn't behave like anything real. It just glided, slow and steady, as if it wasn't touching the lake at all. I tried to convince myself it was just the fog playing tricks on my eyes, but the shape kept getting sharper. I could see the outline of its bow, the railings, the faint suggestion of an old wooden deck. But there was no one on it. Not a single figure. No lantern light. No sound. Just that silent glide cutting through the mist. And then, as suddenly as it appeared, it began to fade. Not sink. Not turn. But the lake had returned to its calm state, the mist slowly drifting away as if nothing had happened. Walking back to my car, I kept replaying the moment in my mind, wondering if I had really seen it. But deep down, I knew I had. Lake George didn't give me a legend that night, it gave me a glimpse of something real, something unexplainable, something that still follows me every time I think about that quiet, drifting shape moving through the mist like it belonged to another time.